Just under 2 hours flying time from Newcastle Airport, and you can be in Prague, capital of the Czech Republic, and our destination for a 4-day break over Easter. Prague is situated at the very heart of Europe and has been the seat of Czech princes and kings from the 10th century. You will see that it is one of the most beautiful European cities, built by some of the finest architects over the last 900 years. The city has many pavement cafes and restaurants, and this cafe is particularly attractive, with fine chandeliers. The orchestra gives a very continental feel to the place. It wasn't long before I gave in to the temptation of a cappuccino and big slice of carrot cake. The old town square is at the heart of Prague and is surrounded by a maze of alleyways, cobbled streets and ancient courtyards. It is from here that you can hire a horse and carriage for a leisurely tour around the town area, known as the Old Town. If a trip around town on a horse and carriage isn't your scene, then maybe you would prefer a drive around the streets in a vintage Czech car. The clock on the town hall is one of the most famous sights in Prague. Every hour between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m, hundreds of people gather waiting to hear the clock chime, and they watch the 12 little apostles move past the 2 windows. Below the clock is an astronomical clock with a representation of the medieval perception of the universe. It measures the hours, the movement of the sun and the moon, and below it are the 12 symbols of the zodiac. The Prague Easter Market in the Old Town Square displays fine handcrafted gifts, including crystal glasses, wooden toys, intricate embroidery and all manner of local Czech food and drink. The market shows off some of the wonderful old customs that make up a traditional Czech Easter. This fellow seems to be enjoying himself. It could of course be something to do with the bottle in his hand. The Easter market is not just about shopping, though the tastes and smells are quite enticing, with terribly unhealthy but very tasty looking barbecued sausages and good Pilsner beer on offer. Czech ladies display their skill personalising eggshells with ink. One of those from the tree. An East European version of a stretch limo. A climb up the tower of the Old Town Hall gives us great views over the red rooftops of the Old Town. After all that climbing, a chance to sit at a pavement cafe in the old square while watching the horse and carriages go by. This is me, taking Chris, taking me, taking Chris. Here we are eating cakes again, but there is nothing like apple strudel and ice cream in a pavement cafe. Charles Bridge is Prague's most popular tourist destination and is probably one of the most beautiful bridges in Europe. The bridge connects the old town with Little Quarter. Construction of the bridge was started in 1357 and at each end stands a very fine tower. The bridge is very popular with Czech artists, musicians and souvenir vendors who have stalls lining each side. Come with us and enjoy a Sunday afternoon stroll along the bridge.
na gitaru zaworceną, a z czerwonym ufam potem, až si ten dům pověsí se. Kasín, se mi to špatně, byl jsem dobrý, a nebylo mi to nic.
Baroque statues began being placed on either side of the bridge in the 17th century. The most popular statue is the one of St. John, a Czech martyr executed during the reign of Wenceslas. The plaque on the statue has been polished by countless people who have touched it over the centuries. Touching the statue is supposed to bring good luck and ensure a return to Prague. So here goes. Walking off the Charles Bridge brings us into an area called Little Quarter, which leads us up to the very impressive Prague Castle. The castle was founded more than 1,000 years ago and is the seat of the Bohemian government. It is the largest medieval castle complex in Europe and the ancient seat of Czech kings throughout the ages. As we leave the castle, we walk towards the Jewish quarter. The Jewish cemetery is the oldest Jewish cemetery in Europe, open from the middle of the 15th century to the late 18th century. Over a 400-year period, nearly 20,000 people from the Jewish ghetto were buried here. Since the cemetery could only hold about 2,000 people, the coffins are laid on top of each other, reaching 12 layers deep. Today, about 12,000 graves remain. During the 18th century, more Jews lived in Prague than anywhere else in the world. They accounted for over a quarter of the city's population. Over 2/3 of the Jewish population perished during the Holocaust. 80% of those deported were sent to death camps in Auschwitz and Treblinka. Following the Second World War, only 13,000 Jews remained. All over Prague are street vendors selling traditional Czech puppets, including some of these evil-sounding witches. I couldn't go home without buying a puppet, so I think I'll have Pinocchio. Well, our break in Prague is all but over, so I will just look in a few more shops before we return home. But we hope to make a return visit to one of the most beautiful cities we have ever visited.